Riding in my Gia next with Anita Baker and the tape deck. He beat me this time. Okay, I'm doing a horizontal stream too for all the losers out there that like horizontal. So only You won't be surprised to see that the only person in horizontal is Van Dread, by the way. No reason to be surprised there. Okay. Let's do some reactions. I saw another Tim Pool clip I was gonna react to. Oh, my back. Oh, my neck. Oh, nice. Okay.
It looks like
All right, another no. All right, another Tim Pool reaction. Adam Conover says Trump's presidency is a fascist takeover of the U.S. I guarantee you, if he brings up corruption at all, Tim Pool's gonna say, "Well, both sides are corrupt."
it looks like a pretty clear fascist authoritarian takeover of the U.S. government. You know, it's we got people being thrown into unmarked vans. We got like the destruction of the civil service, which is like a pretty standard authoritarian tactic, like early on in a administration of that type. Yeah, it's like sort of remains to be seen how far they'll get and if they'll actually be able to transform in America in the ways that they're trying to. But yeah, it's pretty. My side of America, people are a little on edge. It's a little frightening to folks.
Yeah. My take on that would be largely because corporate
corporate. So corporations are mad about the tariffs, or Trump is doing what needs to be done, and it might be uncomfortable, but finally someone's doing something, right?
Press is lying to them, largely.
Corporate press is
what
lying.
Corporate
okay.
press? There's no corporate press left, hardly.
Well, I would say their viewership is rapidly diminished.
Yeah.
But still, when you look at, there was a Real Clear Politics aggregate polling found that they didn't do it necessarily by demographic. They did it by decade age bracket. So it was like 20 to 29, whatever. Every age group except for 70 plus was pro-Trump. Was a few points above.
Real Clear Politics did an average, and they said that every age group in
except
America,
for 70 plus.
Every age group except for 70 plus is pro-Trump.
Yeah, let me see if I can try and find it.
And this is contrasting to like all the approval rating stats I've seen happen.
The argument is, okay, if you watch a legacy media, you're going to be more anti-Trump. And I would argue that legacy media, although I don't like, obviously I don't like legacy media, but legacy media is on average much more factual than independent media. There's some standard of truth and evidence on legacy media like ABC, NBC. If you get your news from Facebook or TikTok or Twitter or whatever else, you're gonna have more low-informed voters that don't pay attention that much, and they voted for Trump the last second because they saw him on Theo Von.
Have him at like 47% and dropping or something that.
It's largely based on the older crowd.
Just old. That seems like the opposite of
media consumption. Also, over 70, you care about your Social Security and Medicare.
I don't follow this really closely.
Yeah, I don't know how to find this image because it was a few weeks ago. But let me see if I can try and pull it up and talk at the same time, which I probably can't. But I don't actually. Do you want to see if you can try and find it while we talk? Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting here typing.
No problem.
Out of my mind. Yeah. So what I would say is like the obvious story, we debated this last week live, is the Abrego Garcia story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the take that I've typically seen from liberals is, actually, I'll use a specific example. The David Pakman subreddit. Pakman, of course, has millions of followers.
The David Pakman subreddit. Out of every response you can get from liberals, you go to the David Pakman subreddit as your representative example.
He gets 100 million views per month. And his audience on Reddit was saying, this is just a family man who is trying to escape harsh conditions in Central America, who has been effectively disappeared by the Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the Pakman subreddit. Some people do talk about the person for sympathetic reasons. So, for example, if you're in El Salvador, all these gangs, escaping to America at the age of 16 and being able to work and not have any crimes, literally have no criminal record that entire time, and then get on a work permit and still be working in America as a sheet metal apprentice. You could say that's a pretty interesting story that is kind of American. If all those facts hold up, that's kind of an American story, right? Someone escapes either a dictatorship from Venezuela or a gang rule, like a gang rule country like El Salvador, and they make it to America. Like, that's a pretty interesting story. But also, I know David Pakman's subreddit, and I know David Pakman, and I know these types of liberals. They hyper focus on the due process and legal portion of it. The right wing is projecting on the left when they say this, because the right wing only cares about this guy's a scary brown guy that has an accent, speaks a different language, child abuser, wife beater, trafficker, illegal alien, gang member, terrorist, with no evidence. But yeah, the right wing is projecting when they say stuff like that.
Which is a gross mischaracterization of what happened. If we were to say that a judge granted Abrego Garcia withholding of deportation due to Barrios 18 in Guatemala and threats against his life in El Salvador, then the question of due process is he needed to get a hearing as pertaining to that withholding of deportation. But he did already have two hearings in which he was determined to be an MS-13 gang member. He was pulled over and law enforcement believed him to be human trafficking. He has 2 filings from his wife for beating her. She was filing orders of protection. And so it's fine if
filed by his wife, who talked about being fearful from a past relationship, and they were withdrawn. They seeked counseling or whatever, and they seem to be having a pretty good 4 or 5 years at this point, like up to now.
If, in my view, the liberals...
And regardless, that doesn't matter at all. I mean, I fall into the trap too, because you want to defend someone against just like accusations people make.
The liberal side of things, or the, podcasters like Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen and others, are going to say, hey, he was supposed to get a hearing. Agreed. But it is a gross mischaracterization. So when you mention that, people on the left are on edge, I'm like, yeah, well, they think that a guy who lives in Maryland who was working like a regular union job or whatever just disappeared one day, as opposed to a guy who had gone through several hearings, was arrested with MS-13, had symbols on his hand that...
Those 2 things are not facts. Arrested with MS-13, had symbols on his hand.
Law enforcement believe were MS-13 gang tattoos.
Yeah, they can believe it is. The hearsay evidence that the ICE agents had, they were from another informant who wanted to get off. So he just said that Abrego Garcia was MS-13. The area that the MS-13, I guess, like sect was in, the area they criticized. What's the way to word these? My words don't work. I'm a stupid liberal. They accused Abrego Garcia of being part of an MS-13 group that was from New York City. Okay, he never lived in New York. And also, the cop that made these accusations was, I believe, dismissed or arrested a couple weeks later for paying off a sex worker. I'm pretty sure.
And so the real question is,
and lying constantly.
What was the error in that deportation? On the right, it's legally called harmless error, in that he didn't get a hearing as to the withholding of deportation.
It's illegally called harmless error, bro.
However, he wouldn't have got it approved anyway. So the answer now is a formality. It's paperwork. It's a Zoom call.
Formality.
It's
no, it's not a formality, because he would be sent to a third country, not El Salvador, and especially not to a torture camp in El Salvador.
But people on the left, the liberal side of things, they think that this is a working class family guy who's vanished one night, an American citizen. And I think it was actually Hassan.
Well, people don't think he's an American citizen. I mean, they're up to speed on like
Hassan Piker thought he was from Maryland. Legit.
Oh,
and so
okay.
He is from Maryland. Okay, once you live in Maryland for 5 to 10 years, you work as a union sheet metal apprentice. Okay, you're a member of your community, your kids in Little League sports. Like, you're a resident of Maryland. You're not a citizen, but you are a resident of Maryland, bro.
We're talking, and I know it's not you, but this is like the 7th biggest live streamer in the country. Almost every single day, Hassan gets 50K. And
again, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter. None of this matters. Trump violating the Supreme Court matters. Trump taking away due process rights matters. Trump wanting to suspend habeas corpus is what matters.
He actually said on his stream in response to the comments I made at the White House, what do you mean he's not from Maryland? Are you saying he's from D.C.? He's from Maryland. No, he's from El Salvador. He only lived in Maryland for a few years.
Okay, I mean...
Oh, man, dude. You are not from Maryland. It's like, okay, I lived in Pennsylvania, and now I live in Ohio, and I'm on a trip to South Carolina, and I'm at the beach, and they ask me where I'm from. And I'm like, oh, I came from Ohio. And they go on my Facebook, and they say, you lied to me. Like, what do you mean? You're not from Ohio. No, I came from Ohio. I've been there 10 years. but you were born in Pennsylvania. How dare it? It's just so stupid. You would never talk like this, bro. You would never talk like that about any person. It's so
I mean,
so
that
dumb.
guy talks for 8 hours a day. Like you can parse any particular
For sure.
statement, but like I mean that to me, everything that you said. First of all, half of it sounds unrelated. Like he's had past interaction with law enforcement, like domestic violence and stuff like that. To me, that's like neither here nor there. It's like character stuff. I don't really give a shit about like the character of the guy, and I didn't think that was a big part of the story. It was like the fact that he did not receive due process before being rendered to a prison, like this bizarre prison in El Salvador. Like that's the strange part.
That's
right?
El Salvador's government with an El Salvadoran citizen. That's not our purview.
I mean, he's like sent directly to this like gigantic complex. It's in a like highly public way, in a way where like the administration is making a
is mocking him in multiple pictures, multiple memes, AI generated memes, making little AI videos about him, completely slandering him. The president holding up a piece of paper that's obviously not even photoshopped. It has MS Paint letters on it, and the president himself is too senile. He's too senile to know that the image was altered. And they're using that as justification to not follow the Supreme Court ruling. It's just insane.
a show of their refusal to follow the law. It's bizarre to witness, and like the sort of narrow legalistic. Oh, he had a hearing. He was da 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 da. It's irrelevant to like the purposeful spectacle of the Trump administration. Sending this guy who they admit they should not have done this, but they're like, we don't give a shit. We're doing it just
true. They broke the law and they're bragging about it. Okay, if they can break this law and brag about it, that's the only thing that matters. They broke this law. They broke this constitutional right afforded to all persons in the U.S. They're violating this 9-0 and 7-2, the Supreme Court orders. They're violating all these different things. If they can violate the law in this scenario for this person based off character assassination and based off the president and other media pundits saying this person's a bad guy, then they could do that with literally anyone. If they want to violate your rights, just make a coordinated propaganda campaign to say you're an evil person, okay? Plant information about you that says you're a bad guy. They can violate your rights and ship you off to El Salvador, and it doesn't matter anymore. American citizen, not a citizen, whatever. That's the only point that matters.
Because we hate guys like this, and we want like even people who are in the country legally to, be afraid and to self-deport.
Yeah.
Like it seems like the only justification is purposeful cruelty for doing
I don't think they call on any legal immigrants to self-deport. They're calling on illegal immigrants to self-deport, offering up $1,000 if they do.
The guy had a legal status to be in the country.
He did not.
Yeah, it is a legal status. If they're doing no due process at all, there is no way to determine who is a citizen, who's not a citizen, who's here under asylum, who's not under asylum, who's here under a work permit or a visa or a green card. There's no way to check for that. That's why they detained American citizens. ICE has detained American citizens already for weeks at a time because they had an accent and they looked brown. So they detained them. Like, this is happening to American citizens. We're one plane flight away from the Alien Enemies Act rendering an American citizen being sent to El Salvador to a torture camp.
That's not true.
And the Trump admin can say, well, it's foreign policy now. We took this person and made even though it was illegal, it's foreign policy now. And although we're paying El Salvador to hold these people, we're paying them millions of dollars for this prison. Oh, it's foreign policy now and under the jurisdiction of El Salvador. Donald Trump, oh, he's so tough against Canada, so tough against Mexico, so tough against Greenland and Europe. He could say all these mean things about our allies. When it comes to Russia, oh, Russia, we're poor little America. How can we tell Russia what to do? We have no tools to tell Russia what to do. El Salvador? You mean we have to say El Salvador has a GDP lower than Atlanta? Atlanta's a bigger economy than El Salvador. How can America? Trump has made America so cucked. It's crazy.
Withholding of deportation isn't legal status. Withholding of deportation
He was on a work permit.
means he was ordered to leave the country, but the U.S. was barred from sending him to El Salvador, specifically because Barrios 18 in Guatemala had threatened his family. So the question as to due process was
work permit.
This is why I think the actual legal standard is called.
Abrego Garcia met with the proper DHS, okay, sources, okay, ICE sources, whatever, okay. He met with them yearly to renew his work permit. He was here under a legal work permit. He was not here illegally anymore.
Of harmless error. If he actually got either USCIS interview as to the withholding of deportation, it would have been voided because El Salvador no longer has the crime rate that it did 12 years ago or 10 years ago. The issue is
You can't just say that, okay? You can't just say, well, the courts would have reversed this decision. They would have reversed this decision. And by the way, Bukele works with the freaking gangs. Bukele works hand in hand with the gangs. One reason that Bukele wants to bring back these MS-13 gang members is because he's afraid they're going to snitch, okay?
are you still at threat from Barrios 18? The answer is no. And so then your withholding of deportation is void. We can deport you. The issue is that for deportation of someone like Abrego Garcia, he has a home country, El Salvador. He has a withholding to that, to El Salvador, withholding of deportation because of a gang in another country neighboring El Salvador. We can't deport him to Venezuela. We can't deport him to Mexico. That requires treaties. The U.S. doesn't have those, though we do have a treaty with Venezuela, with El Salvador as it pertains to Tren de Aragua. So what ends up happening is he had 2 orders of deportation. He conceded in 2019 through his lawyer that yes, he was here illegally. Yes, he had been found to be here, to be removable under the law. And he requested 3, there's withholding of deportation, there was asylum, and then there was, I forgot the third one is, it's you can't deport him because of a fear of torture. It's like a UN thing. And they denied 2 of them. Asylum was denied because he didn't apply for it in a timely manner. Deportation to El Salvador was granted because of Barrios 18 in Guatemala. And then the last one was denied because there's no torture provision. The remedy right now would be a Zoom hearing where he gets on a computer, talks to these are executive judges, by the way, and they would just say, withholding denied. Welcome to El Salvador. You're an El Salvador citizen. I think.
No, the solution is, the Supreme Court, they're not dumb. And it's a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court in which Trump added 3 of the justices. The solution is to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia so the proper processes can be followed, because you cannot just violate court rulings or we have no government and no country. If you have no court rulings being followed, we have no country. That's the only thing that matters here. We don't even have a country anymore. We don't even have a country anymore, guys. We don't even have a country. We don't even have a country, guys. Nice. Okay. Need another video to react to. Emma Vigeland shuts down Tim Pool. This guy's an idiot. Tim Pool. What? White genocide. There's a white genocide happening. Where? Where's the white genocide happening? Okay. Is someone going to call in? You can call in too. You could be my final caller, guys. Thank you for all the donations. Thank you for all the support. Yeah, all that stuff. You can call in right now, buddy. Here you go. Call lines are open if you want to call in. Call in. Sure thing. Why not? Or I can react to Charlie Kirk. Yeah.
7.5 million U.S. businesses, from restaurants to mechanic shops to real estate.
What is this? I don't want to watch this one, actually. I don't know anything about environmental issues. How could I talk about environmental issues? Wait, Charlie Kirk cooks full who says tampons are DEI?
Mr. Simple, you've said some very nasty things about me online, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Simple question, Simple Black Theory. What do you think about blind hiring? Are you for blind hiring?
No.
No. So why not? Because blind hiring, for those who don't know, is based on merit, where you don't
No, it's not.
So what's blind hiring?
Blind hiring would be that you do not put the race actually when you submit for, you don't even see the person when you interview them for a job.
No. That's one part of blind hiring. There's
Okay,
multiple
so-
ways to do blind hiring. But at the end of the day, blind hiring is exactly not knowing the person's race, age, or gender. That's based on merit. Like you said, you want merit, correct?
Well, hold on. Those things can factor into merit as well. For example, if I'm trying to hire for an Amazon warehouse worker, and all of a sudden I find out that they're at 69 with 1 year left from retirement and the age is not disclosed, wouldn't I prefer to have a 24-year-old man than a 69-year-old woman who's overweight?
You're moving the goalpost. Let's bring it back here.
No, I'm
the
not.
whole point was about blind hiring,
No,
right?
you said race, sex, and age is not incorporated.
Correct.
I think you should have a full picture of a human being is when you hire them.
So you care about diversity.
No, actually I don't.
Why? Because that's basically merit. You're focusing solely on merit. You said you want meritocracy.
Just to be clear, if diversity happens naturally through meritocracy, great. If all of a sudden we have
That's
people
DEI.
that, well, no, it's not. DEI is by force.
So let me explain that.
No.
Go ahead.
I got to interject.
Go ahead.
DEI is that we are going to forcibly make an institution more colorful.
Right.
We're going to forcibly make an institution more black. Where if all of a sudden, if half of Texas A&M was black because it was all on merit, praise God, that's an amazing thing. It doesn't matter. If all of a sudden, for example, if the NBA is 75% black because it's on merit, great. terrific. If the NFL is half black because on merit, we don't want to force race. We want excellence and meritocracy over race in every possible circumstance.
Right, yeah, my turn. Okay, so let's get...
Meritocracy-wise, why are all the black players, all right, dominating these sports in basketball and football, but the coaches are not representing that at all, and the ownership is not representing that at all? Although some of the black coaches are some of the most successful coaches of all time, like Mike Tomlinson, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or Tomlin, not Sin. Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, why are there not more black coaches? Why?
Let's get into the NBA, for instance, right? Can we both agree at one point black people weren't allowed into the NBA? And then they allowed them to be in NBA. Wouldn't that be considered diversity? Wouldn't that be DEI in itself?
No. It's actually the opposite. You see, you're mistaken, my friend. It's actually, we're getting rid of any racial stereotyping. What happened was actually a form. No, DEI is racial stereotyping. So what actually was before was a form of white preference DEI, which is white supremacy or whatever. And then we got rid of it. We said, we're not going to discriminate it. And the quality of play got better. Do you guys see the difference between the two? You see, it's very important. Well, no, actually, I'm talking to both you and the crowd, right?
Actually, the NBA is a really good example of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Also, Jackie Robinson in the MLB, because with DEI principles, it would be removing barriers to hiring based off things like race. So, like we saw, for example, white people back then said that white people are great at basketball, white people are great at football, white people are great at baseball, and if black people could play, they would. Obviously, suck. I mean, come on, white people are superior in these ways, and black people. Like we would never want to play with them. They were scared to integrate, and white men were scared to be embarrassed by black athletes as well. But then you have, DEI, and you say, well, guys, we're going to do forced integration. So now we need to have black players in the league as well. You see the NBA be dominated by black players. You see NFL end up being dominated by black players in certain positions. You see the MLB get a lot of players from around the world. A lot of countries in like Central America have some of the best NBA players of all time, or from different nations that were never pulled from before, that are going to be people of color. So DEI in those environments did remove barriers to hiring to make sure we had everyone have an equal playing field from all communities to get into these sports. But they were making the same arguments about, like, okay, why are 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs white men? Why are 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs white men? Is it because white men are the only people that deserve to be the CEOs? Are white men just that good at being CEOs that they make up 90% of the Fortune 500 companies?
I'm talking to both, right? So what ended up what you want is you actually want to bring back a form of how Major League Baseball and the NBA used to work before we desegregated.
So we can agree that Executive Order 11246 is what basically brought in DEI, correct?
I think that might be it. Is that the affirmative action one? I don't know.
No, it's not the affirmative action. It's for DEI. So within that executive order, where does it say that they're solely focused on making people get into jobs? For instance, like United Airlines, right? You mentioned that, well, let's pause that. I'm going to get to here. So for an example of DEI is basically your daughter, right? She decides to get a job, right? And unfortunately, it's that time of the month. She goes into the bathroom. Calm down. She goes into the bathroom. Stop. She's going into the bathroom.
You're losing the audience, man.
I don't care. I'm talking to you. So she goes into the bathroom, right? And she goes into the bathroom and gets a tampon or a pad that's been given from the job. That is DEI. That is literally, yes. Yeah. You don't know. That's great. So if you don't know, DEI.
By the way, women having tampons in the bathroom, that was not always there at all. That did come largely from DEI initiatives, with companies needing to accommodate people from different backgrounds. So women in this example, if you talk about people with disabilities, maybe providing accommodations to hire people who have disabilities. Okay, so yeah, tampons, they're laughing about this, which conservatives do a lot. They're laughing about something that's a very basic fact. Companies before, they did not care about giving women tampons. I promise.
Interrupt me so he can win. Go ahead. You want to do that, right? Or be quiet and we can talk. Thank you. So, right. Can I continue? Thank you.
Kick him out. Nice.
All right, so.
Kick him out.
Yes, because in Executive Order 11246, they say that DEI is focusing on a safer environment and a more equitable environment with.
Yeah, honestly, so like in the mid 20th century, mid 1900s, tampons were used widely. Women had to bring their own, and public bathrooms did not provide them. They were only offered on a coin-operated machine basis. But now workplaces and schools began offering free or low cost pads or tampons in the 90s and 2000s, and this was this was like here and there depending on which organizations decided to do it. In the 2010s and 2020s, driven by there were equity movements. These were called equity movements, menstrual equity movements, which conservatives would hate. These movements demanded institutions provide free tampons and pads in restrooms as a DEI and health equity measure, so that women who go through periods, which is something they suffer through that men don't suffer through, could have more accommodations for more equal opportunity, okay, for a more equal workplace with more removed barriers for them. Like, tampons is actually a really good example of a DEI policy that came from an actual social justice movement pinned on equity. Like, conservatives hate facts. I'm telling you.
Within the workplace and the hiring process. Let's look at Google. Google actually does DEI. You know how they did DEI? Give me an example of, do you know Google's DEI? I'm pretty sure you don't.
And they shouldn't, of course not.
What is their DEI initiative?
I actually don't know the specifics because I don't know every company specifics. However, let me ask you a question. When you're hiring somebody, would you rather hire someone that's...
Here, someone in the comments just said, why are women entitled to men paying for their pads and tampons if they're so independent? See, exactly. So, why are men forced to pay for women to have tampons? In my opinion, it's okay. I'm okay with helping pay for tampons in bathrooms because I want women to feel comfortable. Women go through something men don't go through. And if men disregard that, men are being little babies who don't care about merit at all. Men are just having a better time because of, for default. I know some men act like they have cycles, but going through a period can do a lot to women athletes and women in many different sectors. A lot happens to your body during a period, especially if you don't have birth control to help suppress it. Periods can be pretty bad for a lot of women. Why should I have to pay for it? We don't need to. I don't, there's no argument I don't think there's an argument we need to. It's not a human right, but I think it is right to do, and it's good for us. It's good for us to do, and that's one example of equity that I would say is a very beneficial thing. Women should probably have tampons and stuff and have access to them in the workplace. It creates a better work environment, a better collaborative environment, and it removes barriers for success and merit.
That's black or someone that there is excellent.
So that's what we're talking about. That's not what DEI is.
Please drop a like on the stream. Please drop a like on the stream. Hit subscribe. We have 400 viewers, only 16 likes. I know many of you hate me, but please drop a like if you're watching back on YouTube. Drop a like and subscribe. I have very bad ratios on my videos. A lot of dislikes, not a lot of likes. Please drop a like.
Actually, it is. So let me prove it to you. As I said, according to the Student for Fair Admission Supreme Court case, black students were able to get into Harvard with
affirmative action,
which
not
is
DEI.
Affirmative action. Time out.
You're
Time out. You're getting too worked up here, man. Okay. Time out. Affirmative action is DEI in practice. You see, DEI is a theory.
Wasn't it struck down by Supreme Court?
Yes, and they still ignore it.
So why are you bringing it up?
Because they're still ignoring it, my friend.
So let's focus on my question I asked you.
Hold on. Let's get back to the core macro tenet, which I think is very important.
Correct.
Which is, wouldn't you prefer a country built on excellence and merit,
that
not
is what
one
DEI does.
based on forced pigmentation diversity? Why does somebody's skin color matter? No, tell me. What differences do you as a black man and me as a white man have, and why does it matter?
Okay. So
why does it matter?
So let's look at, because again, you don't understand what DEI is, and you're trying to put it into one stance, which is not. So, thank you.
The battle between good and evil.
Nice.
Right? So,
I have an idea of what President Trump signed, correct? But
Okay,
because he got rid of that executive order.
Right. And in that executive order, it says, literally, y'all can Google it too. It says that DEI focuses on both the workplace and hiring.
Oh,
now,
got it. So does it
now
focus
let
on
me
diversity?
explain. Now let me explain the
Does it
DEI
have the word
initiative.
diversity?
Yes.
We should not have any forced diversity, period. End of story.
It's not forced diversity. It does not say forced diversity. And I'll put money on that too.
But does it say diversity?
It says diversity, yes.
Well, then it's forced diversity.
But it's not forced diversity.
Then what is it? It's a suggestion?
So
the law says, for example, if someone has a disability but they can do a job well, they should have a chance to be hired by an organization, or we should probably hire those who have disabilities to our organization. We don't want to miss good candidates because of them having a disability, or because we don't like their gender or race or whatever it might be. Okay, so diversity to that point is removing barriers to make sure we have accessibility, accommodations, all that kind of stuff. Equity is about like fair treatment, access, opportunities. Can we give our applications out to as many communities as possible? Are we giving opportunities only to certain groups? So if we only give our job applications to the richest, whitest suburb and we have no black applicants, that might be an issue. Like, why don't we have any black applicants? Is it because black people cannot do the job? Or is it because our organization is not doing good outreach? We don't need to give black people the job just because they're black, obviously. That is affirmative action, and that's actually not affirmative action. But affirmative action does take that into account to like boost someone's resume for hiring, for many different complicated reasons, which I'm not going to get into right now. But affirmative action is different from DEI, and just providing equal treatment, access, and opportunities. I will keep that mess up in my video for YouTube, by the way. I'm not going to hide from my mess ups. I misspoke. Inclusion is just about people feeling welcomed and valued. Okay, so some people take that to a more radical end. Some people have a very radical perspective of like microaggression training, and some people just say like, hey dude, don't be a dick. So DEI does not inherently mean racial quotas or affirmative action. Now, if you say affirmative action branches off of DEI, then you would need to say, okay, in which instances is something affirmative action versus DEI? Because DEI is a key part of the civil rights movement and civil rights law from the 1960s and LBJ. All right, that entire movement, like DEI is a big part of that. Now, affirmative action, you could say it spawned from it, but if you take away affirmative action, you can still have DEI. All right, so you can still have DEI without affirmative action, but you cannot have affirmative action without DEI. So that is true, but again, it's one aspect that you could say is not fair. But DEI in general is still a good thing. You can say something like DEI is nuanced. There's some parts I like, some parts I don't like, and you could say, okay, this part seems discriminatory, which is what the Supreme Court case was on. You can agree or disagree, but you could say this part of it is not good. But there are still pretty distinct things when we're talking about equal opportunity employment versus quotas. Okay, big difference there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm lying. Does it say forced diversity in the executive order?
But it has the word diversity.
Does it say forced diversity in the executive order?
Let me get this right. Executive order with the word diversity.
Can I give you an example of DI initiative?
Diversity?
Let me give you an example of DI initiative so you have a better
That was my phone ringing.
understanding. So let's look at Google, right? Google's one of the hardest companies to actually get into. In fact, I believe it's a 0.2% chance that you actually get the job, right? They actually run a DI initiative. Their DI initiative is called a hiring committee, where they have a diverse group of people that have been working on.
Awful.
How? So you're telling me Google sucks?
Google actually is, honestly.
So y'all using Bing. Y'all using Bing.
Honestly, ChatGPT is way better than Google recently. I don't know about you guys. No, but honestly, to your point though.
Google, I mean, YouTube is by far the best platform for online content, and it has been for decades, pretty much. I guess the DEI ruined that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Truth Social and Rumble are.
So Google has lost its competitive edge in a lot of ways the last 10 years. Hold on a second. Again, Google does a lot right, but hold on. Google has lost the social media war. Google tried to launch a Facebook competitor, an Instagram competitor. Failed. They tried to also launch a Zoom and a Skype competitor.
Let's focus on the conversation.
Failed.
That has no proof.
Oh, crap. Google could not compete and completely overtake every market in every single industry. Crap, they couldn't become a full monopoly. By the way, Google Voice is used a lot. Google Meets is used a lot. Google Drive is used a lot. YouTube. It's just a dumb point.
Google's market cap. Google's market cap.
And all of these big tech companies, use DEI. Like, Facebook only doesn't because they sell our data and they manipulate kids into killing themselves to make profits. And Facebook wants to pay off Trump and get in Trump's good graces, so Trump doesn't hold them accountable for it. So they do DEI, anti-DEI policies to suck up to Trump so they can get favors from him. But even Facebook did all the DEI policies on their meteoric rise to the top.
Cap, otherwise known as Alphabet, has actually missed expectations over the last 2 years versus Netflix, Amazon, and Apple and Microsoft. In fact, there was a prediction 10 years ago that Google would be the first $3 trillion company.
Right.
Turns out that it was actually Microsoft that was the first $3 trillion company. Now, of course, Alphabet is a very good company in a lot of different ways, but if your argument right now is like, well, because one of the biggest companies on the planet has embraced a bad idea, what is your argument exactly?
They're still one of the best companies in the world.
Not because of that, because they were built by merit and it's being destroyed by diversity.
And they use
Microsoft literally has a huge page about global diversity and inclusion. Like, there's literally so much on Microsoft's website right now about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, it's actually one of their key points about their public outreach. It's like, okay, dude. Yeah, DEI ruins companies. Yeah.
DEI to get that merit. Listen, if they're hiring people, yes, it makes sense. If you're doing a hiring process and you have a hiring committee that is DEI and they're hiring the people that's making the company as great as we just said, your argument is that DEI takes away merit.
It does.
But if we see that Google is doing well and they're using DEI, how the hell are you saying that DEI is not making merit?
First of all, Google has not had this hiring committee around since its inception.
They have. Not since its inception, but they had it for a while. And the people in the committee are people who's been there for a while, which is very diverse.
Apple, their board just voted to keep DEI. Their entire shareholder vote just voted to keep DEI practices as well. So literally the most successful companies in American history.
Secondly, you have not answered this fundamental question, though.
Go ahead.
Which is, can you tell me when an organization gets forcibly more diverse, it gets better?
Google.
Again, I just proved to you Google is
Google.
Okay.
I just gave you Google.
Again,
they use DEI. Not only are they one of the best companies. Oh yeah, I hate that argument. Great.
I mean, again, it's just they're fine. I'm not gonna like totally kind of crap on Google, but like more importantly and more.
Also, the question Charlie Kirk likes to pose, which is really hard to answer because it's a really dumb question, is how did this company get better because of DEI? Even on the margins, like, it can improve and not make a huge company-wide systemic shift, right? So you can have DEI make a better, healthier workplace and a work-life balance, or welcome more people from different backgrounds who are very skilled, and it can like not change the trajectory of your entire company. But Charlie Kirk's claim is the real claim he's making. We don't claim DEI is going to make companies excel to the moon because they did DEI, and DEI is going to lead a company to being the most profitable company of all time, the most innovative because they do diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're just saying that DEI is probably a good thing to do. It invites the best and brightest from every single community. It removes barriers for disadvantaged groups or minority groups, or whatever group has any barriers. It makes sure we hire people from different backgrounds and we don't just block out people based off their immutable characteristics. And it can just like be decent for your company's culture. It doesn't need to be a huge economic gain, but Kirk is saying, Charlie Kirk makes the case that DEI is collapsing the entirety of Western civilization, all right? And he cannot even make a case of a company that had issues about DEI, caused by DEI, other than conservatives getting offended. Literally, Charlie Kirk's entire argument is, I think it's bad because I'm offended by it. I think it's bad because I'm offended by it. That's the entire argument, because Charlie Kirk would never be able to answer that question turned back on him.
More broadly, I do think you have to answer the question,
So
why,
I can't.
why does skin color matter at all in hiring? Answer that question. Why does skin
The point is, and he's going to say it, the point is skin color should not matter, but for years and years and years and years, it has mattered, which is why 80% of managers or 70% of managers are still straight white men, and 90% of CEOs are still straight white men. Like the people that earn the most in our society by far are straight white men. It should not matter. But when it comes to the proportions of income and wealth and merit, there are groups in America that don't get hired based on many characteristics they cannot control about themselves.
skin color matter?
So, if we look at basketball, because you love talking about that, right? Can we both agree that at one point there was no black athletes, and then what happened? They diversified.
We got rid of forced segregation, which is a form of DEI.
And that diversified.
Oh, Charlie Kirk is going to say that forced segregation is a form of DEI. Forced segregation is a form of diversity. Forced segregation is an example of equity. Forced segregation is an example of inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those principles are done by forced segregation. Wow, Charlie Kirk supporters. You guys don't gotta be dumb weenies. You don't gotta be stupid little weenie hut junior brats. Come to the bright side. It's gotta be tiring to make no sense all the time. And to be ruled by complete emotion. Just being pampered brats. It's gotta get tiring. He just said that segregation was caused by diversity. Segregation was caused by equity and inclusion. Like, come on, guys. You don't be this much of a pushover.
The basketball,
Because
right?
it was based on merit.
Was it diversified?
Yes, but not
Thank
by force.
you
No, hold on a second.
very much.
Hold on, but if your argument is that if you want to make things more merit-based, then let's do it.
It is more
No,
merit-based.
hold on a
They
second.
made it diversifying. They diversified
Man.
basketball, bringing black people who are good in it.
Nothing you're
making
saying.
it diverse.
Nothing you're saying is making any sense.
Oh, okay, I bet.
Because what they did.
Of course
is
you don't.
The NBA went to pure merit, pure excellence. Are you good at this? That's all they cared about.
They allowed black people in, right?
Exactly, because prior.
Okay, then.
Hold on. Because you know what they had prior was a form of racial stereotyping. And you want more racial stereotyping. Your worldview is indecipherable from the KKK.
Racial stereotype. He's going to say it's not different from the KKK, bro. Oh, give me a break. A lot of DEI goes to white people, by the way, from rural America, a lot of veterans, a lot of people who have disabilities. Like, a lot of white people benefit from DEI programs. A lot of white women as well, white women especially, but white men too. But yeah, it's the same as the KKK. Yeah, the KKK, all right, the KKK were fully in line with Black Lives Matter. The KKK were fully in line with diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's their argument. The KKK said, we want more diversity, dude.
KK. So what you want, it's indecipherable because you are race obsessed. I am not race obsessed.
No, you
talk
are,
about the
though.
race.
You
talk
are,
about race
though.
more than the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Right.
Because
I'm
you,
the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Well, think about it.
Yeah,
I said your worldview. Think about it.
Yeah.
Because you're around talking about race all the time. I'm talking about character. Which of
You
us?
talk about race all the time. You literally said DEI is based on race when it's not.
Because
It's
I'm
DEIA
explaining.
with accessibility.
Man, you're getting
Meaning-
really upset.
My bad,
You
you're
should
right,
take
because
a
you keep
pause.
lying. For instance, right? I've been trying to say this. DEI, one part of DEI.
Okay, I'm pausing a lot. I know I pause a lot. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm sorry. I'm sad. I'm sorry for making you sad. I am sad. I am pathetic. But also, like, remember Charlie Kirk and all these individuals back here, they are very pampered in America. They have not gone through much. A lot of frat boys, all right, sorority girls from very privileged campuses. They've never gone through anything. So when you talk about like issues in America, these guys are going to laugh at you, all right? The big game here when doing public appearances with Charlie Kirk is to care about the people watching, all right? The people that the propaganda here can reach. People that do go through things in life. People that do want the best for their neighbors. People who truly are not racist at their core. Maybe they have some stereotypes and maybe some bad biases, but we have to reach the people that they're trying to reach with their propaganda, all right? So when they act all smug and whatever, just remember, they don't go through anything. Gear your messaging towards the person watching both of you talk. You want to be the person that comes out on top based on your moral fortitude, based off your facts, based off the vision of the future you want to sell, based off the way you carry yourself, all right? Don't pay attention to these really smug weenies, all right? These weenies don't know much about the world. But there are people that do, and we have to make sure that Charlie Kirk and his propaganda machine do not ruin this country. We have to go reach out to people who are not currently involved. There's no point trying to debate. We're not going to debate Charlie Kirk out of his position, all right? It's all a performance for the people watching, and you want to reach them.
DEI is literally giving women tampons or pads at work. Oh, yeah, you're laughing because you don't know that.
Giving
Listen,
women
Charlie-
tampons is a form of DEI.
Yes.
Yeah, it 100% literally, explicitly came from DEI programs and equity movements because men did not want to pay for women to have tampons. I promise you, men did not want to buy women tampons. Men bosses did not want to buy women tampons. Women had to pay out of vending machines. They had to pay a couple quarters, which was a lot of money back then. They had to bring their own tampons. Tampons and pads in the bathroom are 100%, all right, a barrier being removed for a minority group, okay? You can say women, okay? Is being removed for this group that has periods, okay, and menstrual cycles. Men, all right? Men do not. Women do. Men did not want to give women that thing to remove that barrier or issue that women might have because they have to buy pads and bring them to work and remember them and all that kind of shit. If a woman starts her period at work, she might be screwed. Men did not want to do that. Men did not want to do that. It literally is DEI. It's DEI. And they're laughing at it. You're laughing? You're laughing. Really?
Yes, it is. You know why? Let me explain. Yeah, no, I got you. I'm about to explain to you guys. So basically what happens is, the reason why we have DEI is the fact that in a job location, right, they want to hire more people diverse. So what these initiatives, these goals, these aspirations that they're doing is trying to bring more people in. For instance, like if, what's that store? Trader Joe's, right? They let people sit down while they they bring stuff in. They help disability. That's DEI. That helps disabled people get a job at Trader Joe's. But what you're telling me is that we are not allowed to tell people that, for like onboarding. Onboarding in itself is also DEI. When they explain to you sexual harassment, when they do all these things, when they make it more a safer place, that is DEI. And what you're saying is that the workplace shouldn't be safe. What you're saying is that more companies should have discrimination lawsuits.
Let's get back
That's what DEI
let's
stops.
get back.
Discrimination lawsuits.
DEI is racial quotas. End of story.
Give me one racial
United
quota. Give me one.
Airlines.
I Googled that.
So
Go
yeah,
ahead.
Oh,
I
you
Googled it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So
go ahead, continue.
what did United Airlines announce? Because you know what I said about black pilots. What did they announce when it came to pilots? And why should skin color matter when you board an airplane?
So just to remind everybody, it's Charlie Kirk's idea. He basically, stop talking. So Charlie Kirk basically.
Ooh, that's very misogynist. That's not very DEI of you.
All right, let me finish cooking. So, right. So, can I finish? So,
I'm not gonna say anything about race, but it is funny that the one time I see someone who's like black on here and like showing some type of emotion and he's getting shouted down by the entire crowd. I haven't seen any other speakers here get shouted down by the crowd and encouraged by Kirk. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying it's a race thing. I'm not saying that, but it is.
Charlie Kirk said that they're basically hiring women of color to make 40 or 50%, right? But when you actually look into it, what happens is
Women and people of color.
right, women and people of color. What happens is they're creating a program that's allowing women to train to become pilots. If you actually look at the requirements for these programs, it's nothing different than any other program that trains pilots. But you told people that they're just hiring women when that's not true.
First of all, I never said that. Secondly,
yes, you did. I did a video on it, guy.
Yes, I know what I said. Secondly, when you hire based on race and not on excellence, you end up compromising the standards of excellence.
They're not.
So that statement right there, when you hire based on race and not excellence, you end up compromising excellence. So when you say DEI, it's like, okay, if there's a pool of pilots and we have black pilots, white pilots, and black pilots are like 5% and white pilots are 95%, and we only hire 1% black pilots, why are we having a gap there when it comes to qualified black pilots and qualified white pilots? Why are there so many white pilots hired when we don't really hire other pilots? And you'll say like, okay, well, what barriers are there? Why are there no black people applying to fly United Airlines? We have to do outreach to make sure we have black pilots because, you know, it seems like a barrier to employment from a group that we don't currently have. We probably want to pull from that group, probably for corporate reasons and also for skill reasons, for sure. And you're pulling from a group of people that is all people who have skills, that are very skilled, that qualify for the job. Okay. The idea that they're going to pull from someone like, oh, this black guy can't fly a plane to save his life. He's actually double blind. He's actually completely blind. He has two left hands, and you know, he's able to. He only can see through sonar. He can only see through like Neuralink cameras on his like. If like that would be an issue, right? If that really was happening, putting unprepared people in these positions, but that's not happening at all. And the people that think it is happening, or they say it's happening, it does sound like they feel black pilots just, you know, if they get the job, it needs to be DEI. There's no way in hell a black pilot would be able to fly a plane and not crash it instantly. Like, come on, he's probably listening to rap music up there. He's going to go too crazy and just forget he's even flying. Like, that's what they think when they say, like, oh, DEI pilots. It's not a real concern. It is. And I don't like framing everything in racism, all right? I don't do that. I'm against the microaggression training, the consultant fees they do. I'd rather just say, like, this guy's being a dick, and let's talk about the real direct racism where we can find it. I don't bring up race for every conversation like some people do on the left. But this is 100% fueled by racial animosity and believing that black people are just incapable, unable, whatever the words are, to do anything. When that requires responsibility. Whereas I would say, for example, if there's a black pilot, I know he worked his ass off. being someone in the professional world, for a black person to get into like to a C-suite position, they got to work their asses off, bro. Usually when I meet people who are like, you know, from other backgrounds, they get the job because they had a parent who works there, or they have a friend's parent who has a parent who has connections. Yeah, usually a black person in those positions have to work their ass off much more than others did.
Allow me to finish without interrupting you.
All right, go ahead,
when you
Mike.
hire based on race and not on excellence, you end up compromising excellence to be able to pursue race. We know this with Harvard, University of California. We know this with major companies. We know this with the government. Exactly. DEI, that is affirmative action is DEI philosophy in
struck down
practice.
already. You're bringing old
DEI philosophy in practice.
My statement. They are actively defying the Supreme Court decision, or they are contorting their policies to try to fit their own DEI agenda. But let me ask you a question. If you were to board a United Airlines,
I ain't get the finish. Go ahead.
if you were to board a flight with United Airlines, would you rather have a pilot that is qualified or one that is diverse? Answer the question.
Wait, that makes no sense. Why is there two different things? How is it different? When you go to American Airlines.
Because in the pursuit of diversity, In the pursuit of diversity,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
sacrifice excellence every time.
Yeah, so that question alone, okay, again, I don't bring race in every conversation. I try to avoid it because I talk to a lot of people who would get mad about race issues, so I try to ease them into these conversations. But this question alone is 100%, like, I don't like using these words because the right wing has ruined them, but it's white supremacy. It is. Oh, there's no way to tie together excellence and diversity. You can do either diversity or excellence. Would you rather your pilot be a good pilot or a diverse pilot? Huh? Would you rather your pilot be a good pilot or a diverse pilot? Good or diverse? And you could say, why not both? And Charlie Kirk says, well, if you want diversity, you inherently are going to trade excellence. All right. He's just making the argument implicitly that if you do diversity, you're going to have less excellence. Ignoring the facts, ignoring everything else. It's 100% relying on people to shut their brains off and focus 100% on the racial biases. Whether they are actively hateful towards black people or other minority groups, or if they have some type of bias within themselves that makes them think that black guy cannot fly a plane. A black guy flying a plane? Are you kidding me? He's definitely not qualified. He's a DEI hire. Because they call politicians DEI hires who are elected by the representatives as well, or elected by their constituents as well. 100% just a white supremacist talking point.
We know this with Harvard.
Right.
We know this with Yale.
So I got a
we know
question.
this with the military.
Right.
Every time,
Right.
every
Right.
example that we pursue diversity, an institution becomes less excellent.
So
it becomes subpar.
when you go on a plane, do you go to the pilot and ask for their credentials, or do you believe that the airline did the right thing
No.
and hired the right? So you ask
No,
for
I
their
don't.
credentials.
Actually,
you don't.
I'm starting
you don't.
to.
So
well, hold on.
so
I
for
start
some
to doubt
reason,
it.
we
That
can
was
have
my
both
statement.
diversity and
That
merit
was my
things.
statement.
Right.
My statement was when you're going to if you're going to go from 4% of the pilots being black to 50% of the pilots to be black, it begs
Right.
the question: you are going to lower the standards.
So my
you are
question
going
is-
you're going to put a square peg through a round hole. You are going to force something that naturally is not happening, and you will all of a sudden be playing a very treacherous and dangerous game when you board a plane. When I get heart surgery or if I board a plane, I don't care about the color of the skin of the
Thank you,
person
facts,
doing it.
right.
The actual facts about this, and by the way, if you don't care about the color of their skin, you would not even have this conversation. If that were true, Charlie Kirk would not even have this conversation. Okay, he would not have this conversation if he did not care about the race of the person. He does care about the race. He believes the race makes them inferior. Okay, this is the answer to what Charlie Kirk is saying. But all available data shows us that, in fact, white pilots have a higher rate of accident than non-white pilots. But the facts don't matter here. It's all about racial bias and emotion.
I want excellence and I want meritocracy.
Yes. So stop talking. Are you talking? So right, let's get back to because you're talking a lot.
Final point, then I'll get to the next question.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so again, going back to what you said, because like I said earlier ago, you said, and I forgot this was ISU, you basically said that that women are being hired to become pilots, right? Now, first, that's a lie. That's based on a program. Second, correct me if I'm wrong. Becoming a pilot is based on skill, correct? It's not based on height. It's not based on physicality. It's not based on nothing. It's based on skill, meaning
Not
that
always.
if you're being so what is it based on?
Because based on a now public lawsuit with the Department of Transportation in 2016, 2017, air traffic controllers and pilot standards were lowered in pursuit of
Nah,
diversity
true. I
goals.
looked at that too.
Because of over
They
15.
added more
Let me
shit.
finish. Because of 15 whistle.
The standards were changed because of a low supply of air traffic controllers, and this happened under Donald J. Trump's administration. The rules were literally changed under Trump's admin. All right, the DEI rules were adjusted, and by the way, the air traffic controllers under Trump were talking about hiring more black air traffic controllers, not to do it in the name of diversity or in the name of just like we need to fulfill our quotas, but because they lacked air traffic controllers, and they said, hey, if we can't get air traffic controllers, we need to get more of them. How do we reach out? How can we reach out to communities we do not currently get applicants from? So then you might launch an operation that says, hey, we're going to target women to be pilots or air traffic controllers. We're going to target black people to be air traffic controllers. We're going to target Hispanic people. Maybe, by the way, white people, whenever there's an ad with Wrangler jeans and a camo hat, and there's this burly guy, and he's like, I care about supporting our law enforcement. Like they're literally using propaganda on you to recruit you for the military and stuff. So that's an example of like DEI, but they're using it to just say we need more people, more skilled people to fill up this shortage of labor.
whistleblowers that said the standard of air traffic controllers and pilots were being sacrificed in the pursuit of diversity,
lying
equity,
again.
and inclusion.
You're lying again.
Okay, I mean, people can do their own independent research, and they
I've
also...
done it, and you're lying. They actually made it hard.
Well, thank goodness no planes were crashing at that time. And now that Trump killed the EI, planes are crashing again. I guess the EI saved us.
They add more scenarios within the FAA.
Again, everybody
you
here
can Google it right now.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Again, the documents bear out exactly. We now have...
Yeah, I'm booking it.
We have air
Next,
traffic
next.
controllers after air
Next.
traffic controllers have said, in the pursuit of making air traffic controlling more diverse, we have then lowered the quality of air traffic controlling.
So at the end of all this, what you basically told me is that if merit matters, it doesn't matter, because when we mentioned blind hiring, you said you're against that, which is based on merit.
Time out. They said that they want to prioritize a group above what is meritocratic.
I didn't say that.
That's what United
If
Airlines
you
said.
want,
They said
I'm
half.
so confident.
They
Read
said
the
half.
executive order out loud
Talking about United
right
Airlines. We're
now
not talking about the
in front of
executive order.
everybody.
Again, they
All right,
said
yeah,
half
next.
of all their
You got
new
cooked.
hires.
You got cooked.
Again,
Hey.
Let's see. Was there a air traffic controller whistleblower situation? What years? In 2016, 2017. I'll take the phone. If I have over 400 viewers, I'll take a phone call. We have 300. I'll take one phone call. Please drop a like and subscribe. Please donate to Jolah Talks Politics. Really appreciate all the donations. Help me keep the channel going. There were allegations from a whistleblower 2017, 2016, or 2016, 2017. Procedural issues. What actually happened here? Okay. Safety. Whistleblower raises concerns. Safety. Air collision. Notified White House. Changes. New procedures for moving planes from one controller. I don't see. There's nothing on that safety panel being tied to race. Again, Charlie Kirk is lying again, dude. But his audience doesn't care. They really are just pushovers and really pathetic individuals. So it's not like they really care about the facts of it. It's whatever. All right, I could do one caller, I guess. Thank you for watching and subscribing. Like, it really is like 300 people. It's not nothing to laugh at. You know, it is a, you know, that's a lot of, it is a lot of movie theaters full of people.
Hello.
Howdy.
Hi. Is this the Jolah? Wait, the
Yep, this
YouTube
is the
guy
Jolah
live?
Talks Politics thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, like the whole DI thing and that video you were reacting to, I have more of a unique perspective on it because just got done serving at the reserves. So what I notice is there's a lot of men, doesn't matter what race, that are getting overlooked for jobs and and women and like the LGBT community gets hired on over a lot of straight men. And so I get overlooked because no one wants to hire someone that needs 1 week a week off. I mean, I live in Nevada where weekends are required to work. So with the whole DEI thing, I'm not noticing it based off of race. I'm noticing it based off of like military status, being discriminated against, gender, being discriminated against, and sexual orientation. With my experience.
Yeah, it could be, and that's the big issue with political conversations, is it can be really based on everyone's experience. So, like, in the fields I've seen, like, I always bring up how, like, 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs are white. And I would also not just say, like, them being straight white men isn't really interesting. The big thing to me is that they came from money, all right? Most of them did not really work for it. They were starting on third base. They had an easy bunt to get to home, and now they're super rich. They're the most powerful men of all time. It's not merit-based at all. So the biggest thing preventing merit from taking hold in our society, in my opinion, is 100% wealth and money being passed down, opportunities being passed down. And I'm not saying like every DEI program is perfect, obviously. I mean, white people hire white people more than not, and black people hire black people, and a bunch of cultures hire cultures that they relate to. It's just human instinct in many of these situations. But the big thing we try to address is all of those barriers. So how can we remove barriers and get people from all these different communities? And yeah, I mean, you brought up some other cases that are a really big deal. But the only thing I hear people like Charlie Kirk talking about are race, and even the Trump administration, all they talk about is race. They're not talking at all about like vets or about those who have disabilities or about women or gay people not being hired because they might be gay or something. They hyper obsess on race, and I think that's for a particular reason. I think it's because race is the most like the most politically advantageous thing they could focus on.
Right. And mind you, I've always worked hard. I always have had a job. So from my perspective, with getting work and staying working, like white male that was raised in a single mother household. So that pushed me to not wanting to like live off of the system type of situation.
I'm from
And people don't talk about how people only talk about how the black Americans like deal with that situation, but it's not just black Americans, it's people from other races.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a family that was like, a single parent and all that stuff, and poor family. So like, being white in a rural area, I benefit from DEI for like 100%. Like getting into college, there were kids that I knew someone that I roomed with. Like one of my roommates he was a billionaire. His family were billionaires who had a mansion on Lake Geneva. That was one of them. The other one like traded stocks and was really rich. I was from a shitty coal town. And the other one, his parents spent $40,000 on his SAT tutoring. So in my experience, like they were able to get me in because of a holistic admissions process where they look at everything I've gone through in life, the background I came from. Because like the billionaire's kid was not really smarter than I was, and not better at work than I was. But it's just like kind of how things work. Whoever has money, whoever has power is going to get all the advantage in society, which is another reason why it's annoying they attack DEI, because DEI hurts a lot of poor white kids too. It's not only, they think it's only going to hurt the black people they don't like. It's going to hurt a lot of people, a lot of vets, a lot of people who have disabilities, a lot of people from different backgrounds, and all it does is help the rich. Like these are all things that just help the ultra wealthy even more. And I know Charlie Kirk gets funded by the ultra wealthy, and that's probably one reason he talks about it so much.
And that is probably one of the reasons he talks about it so much. But also, one thing I've noticed, with like some of the jobs where you don't need a college degree, someone with a college degree gets it before me. And mind you, I've tried going to college. College is not my thing. I just think most like career fields in this country need to revert to apprenticeship programs.
Yeah, and that should be viewed at more, of course. And people that can go to college are going to most likely either be in debt or their parents can help them get in. And someone said, I am bi, and TBH, I would hate being hired just because I'm bi. I would hate being hired just because I grew up poor. The issue is when taking into account for like legacy admissions, being poor growing up makes it harder to do things. So they can look at me and see that I'm a better candidate, although I have a lower SAT score. It's not being hired just for these characteristics. It could be for a multitude of reasons. No one gets hired just because they're gay or just because they're bi or just because they're black or just because they're white. It's always a combination of things. Mostly it's because of relationships. But for colleges, it makes 100% sense. Like I can go through conversations I've had with these kids who have super high SAT scores. Many of them are not very smart. They're not very smart people. They know how to do tests well, but they don't know how to work in the real world, which is, that's why you need holistic admissions for the person that said that.
Oh, yeah, no, I see your point. Like from my point of view, like someone that doesn't do well in like a actual school setting, I do well in apprenticeship programs, which is why at 35 now I'm considering going into the sheet metal apprenticeship program, which those journeymen make like $47 a hour.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's a lot of luck too. I mean, I'd probably say 60% of success is luck, and then 40% is hard work. You need the hard work to get it done, but luck it gets you opportunities, and being born into a good family. And I'm gonna get off after this. I really appreciate the call, and I think you
Yeah.
would sympathize too, where it's like, um, if you're wealthy or if your parents are wealthy, like I know poor kids that went to college and they got in the frat game and the party game with their friends and, you know, got into drinking too much, and they had one chance to succeed. When you're poor, when you're from a working class background, you have one chance to succeed. You might have a chance to start one business in your entire life. You might have one chance at a good job. You might have one chance to really accomplish what you view as a good life. But when you're wealthy, you could fail 50 times. You could bankrupt 15, 20 businesses and be completely fine because you have that cushion. You have parents who are going to help you out. You have friends and family that can get you more jobs if you fail. You have people that can sign on to loans for you to get you really low rates if you want to invest in a business. Like, there's so many things for a mortgage. Like, there's so many benefits to having an easier start at life. And all I talk about is like the 100-meter dash example. If we're going to say it's a meritocracy in America and everyone has an equal start, then if it's a 100-meter dash, there should be no one running 150 meters. There should be no one who's running 10 meters because their parents are rich. There should be no one who starts at third base and is already pretty much all the way home just because their parents are rich. If we really care about meritocracy, then we should care about it. But I mean, there's no way to have a true meritocracy. And I think the word meritocracy, they use the word merit just to attack groups they don't like, whether it's poor people, working people, black people, whatever the group is. They use meritocracy to say if they have a job, it cannot be from merit because, of course, they don't have merit because we don't like them, I guess.
I see your point there. Like, from my experience growing up in Nevada before, like, the DI conversation started, like, companies were really good about following federal law, which pretty much aligns with looking at merit 100%. And so I've actually seen where DI does discriminate in like a town in a state that is primarily tourist or mining and that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And someone said the only thing that should matter when you're hired is your work ethic, your experience, overall effort implemented into your work. The issue is, like, we're human beings, and I'll tell you right now, the best positions, even if you're qualified for a job, if you want to really get a job, you want to go to the same restaurants and bars as people that have connections and people that are, you know, able to give jobs, because college. The biggest benefit college gives you, if you don't go for like STEM, because if you go for engineering and you get good grades and all that, you're going to get a good job. But for any field where you need connections, the biggest thing about college that helps poor kids is it puts you in the proximity of wealth. And if you're in the proximity of wealth, whether by birth or because you went to a college, you have such a huge benefit when it comes to your chances of being successful. So a lot of the value added from college is either because kids who go there are already guaranteed success because of their background, or you get a chance to meet rich people, and those rich people can then give you opportunities largely, or your campus has an alumni network, and the alumni network has a lot of jobs and opportunities. So even for that, like if you don't have a college, going to the bars that you know, if you want a job locally, going to a bunch of bars locally, going to the diners, talking to people, meeting people, going to community events and shaking hands and just getting like acquaintances like that. If you need a job, that's one of the best ways to find it. Then you have a community support, you have all these different listings, and then people get to know who you are, because you're not just like that random guy applying for a job. Now you're that guy who's known in the community. So in a bunch of different levels, this networking and overall community sense really matters. And I think it's good to tie it all together. And I would say that many commentators who do this kind of work from California, New York City, Massachusetts, I think I am special because I've been in every single one of these backgrounds. Saying that kind of in a humorous way, obviously, but I do have a way to connect it. Like, they're very college focused. Like, I would never call someone dumb for not having a college degree. Like, I know it's not true. Some of the smartest people I know don't have college degrees just because they were not in a position to go to college. They had shit happen in life. They didn't have the money to. They didn't like the colleges that were nearby. Being in a classroom didn't work for them, but they're very, very, very intelligent. And we need to be able to have intelligent conversations with people who do not have these formal degrees. Because then people like Charlie Kirk, who I view as a pretty poisonous personality, he will win because he is willing to go out there and it doesn't matter if you're right. It matters if you can respect people and you know, reach them in their hearts before you can like shift their brain. So I try to keep that in mind as much as I possibly can when talking for hours.
Like, I'm going to end with this. Like, I see where you're coming from with the successful people in college and everything. I like to put out a counterpoint where, like, college wasn't for me, but doing like 6 years in like as a drilling reservist, like the army has a lot of resources where you could get civilian certifications in IT and that, like EMT and all that, like voucher programs, so you don't need to go take a college class. It's easier. And I will also like to counter argue that there's plenty of people that have done apprenticeship programs. Like, I know someone that has done an electrical apprenticeship program. He just started his own electrical company. So
and it's like
I see a lot of people like that are successful without having to go to college.
Yeah, we don't need to hate each other either. We all do jobs. Like I'm someone who's in college. I work a job that's more white collar, but I'm the first person to say we should be paying people more who do the actual work in society. Like even fast food workers. I go in McDonald's and I'm like, holy crap! Like McDonald's workers are on high and like they are stressed all day. Like with how busy it gets and running around constantly, they do very hard labor. Like they really do. It's very difficult work to. I mean, it sounds funny to people who hate working class people, but that's a stressful job. You have to smell like fries all day, and then you see all these assholes coming in doing DoorDash orders, and you have to prepare DoorDash orders. You have to take care of the people in the restaurant, in the drive-thru. Like even those jobs. Like I'm the first person to say we have to respect everyone in the job they do in society. And it's so funny because I feel like I don't know. Republicans are the first people to say cut taxes on the wealthy, and cut all the working class benefits and just like trade stocks to make money. And Democrats do that too much too now. So I want to be able to change that with Democrats. But that's a future conversation. I appreciate the call. Hope you have a great night, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That's it for me tonight. I'm going to go do some things. I am busy tonight. Going to play some video games all night. Thank you for watching. Please drop a like and subscribe. Please donate to Jolah Politics on PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. Really appreciate all of you. Have a great night. I'm gonna go. Join Discord. Please join Discord. We need more people talking in Discord. There's a fiery conversation happening in Discord right now. It's in my channel description and all of my video descriptions. Go in those descriptions and find my Discord link and join it. All right. Here's Discord in the chats. Dropping it again. Moz can drop it again. Join Discord, please. We need more people in Discord all the time. Thank you, SP Mario. Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider, and the story about me and the billionaires my roommate billionaire and the stock traders and the people that get all this SAT tutoring. There are individuals who I met in college who are not very smart. All right, they have said to me they are not smart, but they paid for SAT tutors as much as you pay for a car, and they studied every single day just for that one test. All right, and they just got drunk every day in college. They were throwing up in the bathroom on Monday on a Monday at like 6 p.m., bro. Like, that's not merit. That's privilege. Okay, thank you. Have a great night. Have a great night, guys. See you tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow night. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. $25 an hour. Nice. You just called DoorDash driver asshole? Jolah, you claim everyone should be respected, but you just called DoorDash drivers assholes. Hypocrite mother. I am a DoorDash driver. You idiot. I average 50 orders a week as a third job. After my one job and YouTube, I DoorDash. You dumbass. I'm allowed to say the DoorDash slurs. It is annoying if you're working at McDonald's and then you have to make a couple DoorDash orders. I feel bad for them. You idiot. You're insulting my culture and my people. How dare you? You would never have double D's like me. Back off. All right. Have a good night, guys.